What up, fellas? It's your boy Dre Bee Rambo here. Another podcast for today. One of the things I want to talk about today is reinventing yourself. I had a thought this morning on my way to work, and I was thinking about how there's been a couple of times in my life where I literally took on the persona of somebody else. I made myself into someone else, and it turned out to be very beneficial for me, where I identify as one thing, maybe a guy who doesn't, do very well, a guy who, doesn't do good in school, for example. And then, or it could even be like, you don't see yourself as a good talker with people out in public. And then, you just kind of change who you are. You change your perspective. You decide to be somebody else. And it's funny when you put on a mask, and we all have masks, you kind of like find a new you. You take on this new persona. And if you embrace it, and you could be anybody you want. Me, I'm being a podcast guy right now. I know shit about podcasting, but I'm doing it. And I got all the, I just decided I was going to be that. One day I remember I decided I was going to go to law school, and I just would tell everybody I had a high school. I didn't even have a high school education. I got a GED, and I started going to this local junior college, Rio Hondo College. And I would start taking classes, and I would meet people there. And I would just tell anybody who listened that I was going to go to law school. And I just believed I was. I just believed that. I took on a whole new persona. There's been many instances that I was going to be somebody else. Maybe possibly, I suppose, because maybe I didn't like who I was. And I decided I was going to be something different. And it's funny because every time I have an idea for the podcast, I pop in my idea into YouTube to see if it's already been done. And sure enough, it's been done already. So I want to react to a clip that I saw that I haven't seen it yet. I saw like the first 10 seconds and I thought, I think I've seen this guy before. I don't know what his name is, but he's got an episode called Identity Shifting, Your New Way to Reinvent Yourself in 3 to 6 months, which it sounds like a funny title, or, it's like, okay, but no, I mean, 100%, you could be somebody else. You don't have to, if there's something you don't like about yourself, you could change it. You can create new pathways in your brain that can just enable you to be something different. If you're the kind of guy who's lazy and you never go to the gym, you could literally make yourself a stud just by changing something in your brain, just the way you're thinking, your thought process, which is really powerful. If you have self-doubt about something, you got to put that out of your mind. And it goes for all things. I mean, it could be a breakup. You could be going through a breakup with your girl, and you're in a relationship for 3-4 years, and then it's just over. And you might start sitting there while you're at work thinking like, I wonder whose cock she's got in her mouth or something crazy like that. Or you might be thinking like, what is she doing? And what you do is you just say, I'm not going to even entertain these thoughts. You just put them out of your head. I know I've been through breakups where I've been doing this since I was a young kid. Anytime I had a breakup and I started thinking about her and I started having crazy thoughts, I would just go like this. I would just take it and move it out to the side, and I'd force my brain to think of something else. The brain is very powerful, and whatever you think about, you're going to manifest more of that. If you think that you can't do something, then guess what? Like Henry Ford, who said it, you know what? You're right. You probably can't do it because your mindset, it's all about that. So I want to get into this video, see what this guy's going to say. I wonder if he's going to say something about mindset. I'm sure he will, being that we're talking about taking on a whole new persona here. let's see what homeboy has to say. And I'm sure you guys have maybe seen this guy before. I don't know his name, but let's see what he has to say.
Like an exaggeration, but it's no BS. You have the potential to literally become whoever you want.
Boom. See, there it is. This guy said it. So it's got to be true. You could totally be anybody you want.
We're talking about how you can master shifting your identity. Now, if you know how to do this, you have the potential to literally do whatever you set your mind on. You want to become more charismatic, identity shifting. You want to make more money, identity shifting. Now, if you don't,
I think it starts with belief. You know, if you have self-doubt, you got to do something about that. You got to get rid of that. Because like when I was going to college and I was telling everybody I was going to go to law school, I didn't know if I was going to go to law school. I just believed I was because I was on that mission. Like this podcast, for example, has 0 watchers today, 0 viewers. And yesterday, I think I had 2 for my show before that. And then I had 8 before that. So I'm actually going in the wrong direction. I'm going in the wrong direction. But I believe that I'm going to get better at this. You're going to have failures or setbacks before you get over a hump. It's just ingrained in it. Whatever you're going to do, start a business, or if you go back to school or you know, whatever it is that you do, it doesn't matter. Any goal you set for yourself or any project that you undertake, there's going to be setbacks, and the weak are going to be separated from, what do they call that? The weak from the chaff or whatever they call that. Like you got to get over that. Lost my train of thought. It's 25 years of drugs, you know. If you got a drug, if you're young and you know and you're doing drugs and stuff, man, I smoked pot for like 25 years, drank my ass off for 25 years, cigarettes, other drugs here and there occasionally. But man, I'll tell you, my brain's, you know, I got over 2 years sober. My brain is still like foggy sometimes where I'm surprised I could keep my train of thought. And to think they let me drive.
don't know what's in this video. You're going to wake up year after year wondering why you're not further ahead. Maybe you see other people crushing it and you wonder what's their secret? What do they got? In this video, I want to give you some.
What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. I probably butchered that. It's probably, I don't know if that's how it goes, but you know, never compare yourself to somebody else. Bad. I mean, that's a horrible thing to do. You are your own person. You have your own unique talents. And if you compare yourself to somebody else and their achievements, you know, I saw this, could have been a video, a meme or a short YouTube clip where the guy's driving around in his Ferrari. I think Jordan Peterson, it could have been a Jordan Peterson short or something. Someone had made it, not Jordan Peterson. But the dude's driving around in his Ferrari. He's got some hot chick in the car. And someone's thinking, man, I wish that was my life. And the narrator was basically saying, whoever it was like, you don't know that. You don't know what that guy may be going through in his life. You don't know if he's compensating for something. You know, if like he's driving around Ferrari, but you don't know the pain that he had to go through to actually get to that level. I think it was Elon Musk said, you know, I wouldn't wish anybody to be me, you know? Sometimes we don't realize, you know, how good we got it. And that's why, you know, people always talk about having gratitude, you know, waking up with gratitude. You know, you hear people talk about that all the time. You know, you should be grateful, but you really should. Practicing gratitude is like so important. It lifts you up. It makes you see things different perspective. If you have a negative Nancy attitude all the time, you could see that same thing that's going on in your life and it'll just make your life worse than if you just had a good attitude about it. Bad things happen to us. And sometimes we just have to, I have a lot of bad things happen to me, you know, every single day. Not like, you know, break my leg or anything, but setbacks in business or this podcast, or like today, like I said, 0 viewers for my show this morning. And who cares? You know, how many people do you know that have a podcast like I do? You should see my setup. You can't see what's behind my camera, but man, I got multiple monitors and I got the mixer and all this equipment, and man, I'm doing all right. You know, I could get all pissed off because things don't work. You know, sometimes things don't work right or the way I want them to. But I decided I'm going to take on a new identity of a guy that doesn't allow the little things to bother him. Look at that. I'm identity shifting already.
Some higher level perspectives on shifting your identity. And then, I'll try and give you a few techniques that you can walk away and use. So you're walking away with something tangible.
Heck yeah.
So what is this? What is identity shifting? A good place to start is old school. Maxwell Maltz, psychocybernetics. Now, Maxwell Maltz was a plastic surgeon, and people would come to him. They wanted to look a certain way. So they'd go to Maxwell Maltz and he'd fix their appearance. Now, these people thought that if they fixed their appearance, they would internally feel amazing, right? It makes sense too. Like you've probably thought, if I just didn't have my nose the size it was, I could feel beautiful. Or if my face was a bit more snatched, then I would get the attention I want. Like most people who want plastic surgery, it kind of follows the same story. If I look this way, I can feel that way. People will treat me that way. And for some people, it did work. But what was more interesting for him and why he actually switched and became a psychologist is no matter what surgery he did on people, they still internally felt awful. They felt ugly inside. What he realized is that the patient's self-image mattered more than the results they got. Even when he made them objectively beautiful, if the patient still maintained the belief that I'm the ugly duckling, I can't look myself in the mirror and everyone notices my big nose, no matter what surgery they did, it didn't matter. In other words, the patient's internal image mattered more than their external.
Wow, that's something. You know, it's like we have to really think about and be mindful of how we feel about ourselves. Negative self-talk. Talking about yourself in such a way, negatively manifesting your belief in that assertion, if that makes sense. You know, if I call myself a fat piece of shit, I'm going to start believing I'm a fat piece of shit. And then I'm going to start feeling like a fat piece of shit. And then I'm going to start making poor decisions and actually bringing that into reality, being a fat piece of shit. You know? That's really something. I'd rather be a guy who has a very high opinion of himself. You know, like I walk around sometimes, you know, you don't know me, but I'll walk around like at work or other places and I'll force myself to be happy. I'll force myself to talk to everybody in that office because there's days when I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I just want to be able to chill out and just be in my office and do nothing. But every day I force myself to walk around. I say hi to everybody. And even the people that probably don't even care for me that much. And I just force myself to do it. Say hello, you know? But yeah, lately I've been really trying not to have any negative self-talk. Or just having that negative talk, because you end up believing your own bullshit, your own lies about yourself.
External perception. Unless the internal identity shifted, nothing on the external had any impact. So what is shifting your identity? Identity shifting is when you make the decision to change in order to get closer to the ideal version of you. And in doing so, you start to become this person that you've always imagined. There's an urban legend that if you have a goldfish in a small bowl, it will never outgrow the bowl's size. But if you put that same goldfish in a much bigger bowl or a fish tank, it will grow and grow until it reaches the size of the tank. Now here's where we're going with that. Is you have a tank, whether you realize it or not. That tank is your identity. Okay, this is what's placing limits or breaking through limitations for you. A lot of times you didn't even set it yourself. It's set by the people around you, society, teachers, parents, growing up. So let's talk about why.
Yeah, that's interesting. yeah, we self-limit ourselves. It's funny because I started this podcast because I've always been a really good talker. And I noticed, like, doing the podcast, like, I'm not a good talker. But I also know that it's because I have a certain limitation right now with my brain. My brain hasn't, like, caught up to the fact that we're doing a podcast. This is podcast number 4 that I've done in a long time. I started getting into a groove a year or so ago. I think it's probably like a year ago now. The last episode I did, where I started getting into a groove. I was interviewing people, things like that. And without the practice for the whole year, I noticed that I don't, I go a lot, and I'm not like the person, like, I don't feel like in my natural flow. But by recognizing that, I know that I just have to keep doing podcasts. And thank God no one's watching these episodes. But it's also important to actually publish them, because then it's like I'm just playing by myself in my room, Like, you got to publish your episodes. I mean, some people advise against this, but I'll publish my episodes whether they suck or not. I just publish them. I think they fall off after a few months, or no, I don't think they do. Actually, that's not true. It's in the internet forever. And so I don't know if you guys noticed, but I bought a new hat. It says it's not a party till the wieners come out. I thought it was funny. It's from Wiener Schnitzel. Hope I don't get in trouble for wearing this hat, but I did buy it. So hopefully I don't.
It's so hard for us to change, and why you get stuck in the past versions of yourself. I don't like this language of becoming someone new, because that's sort of outrunning yourself. And that's just like Maxwell Maltz realized with the plastic surgery, that people were trying to, like, become someone new physically, and then it gave them internal permission to feel a certain way. Now, here's what I'm more of a fan of, is realizing.
Well, it wouldn't even matter, because I don't know if you ever, I've known myself, like, and there's other people out there too, like, let's just say you have a body transformation, but before your body transformation, why did I put that screen? I meant to put this one. You have like a body transformation, right? And before you, just say you start off really heavy, like say like this right here, right? I'm actually really good at talking to girls, right? Even being even being heavy like this, right? But let's just say I wasn't. Is that my phone? Oh, cool. And let's just say I wasn't. And I had trouble talking to girls because I was really insecure about my body, right? Let's just say I was like, oh, I'm too fat and I don't want to talk to girls, or I don't want to do the podcast because I'm too fat, right? And you have that body transformation. Next thing you know, you're chiseled. But that don't mean you all of a sudden you know how to talk to girls. That don't all of a sudden mean that you have a cool personality. It doesn't mean anything. It's like what we were talking about earlier, getting the surgeries and changing your face up and stuff like that. Like, if you feel ugly on the inside, you're gonna feel ugly, or you're gonna feel inadequate, or you're not gonna have that personality that could talk to girls, regardless of how much muscle you get. You just turn into, like, if you're a fat shy guy, you're just gonna turn into a muscular shy guy. There's got to be some changes, deep inside your psyche. In my opinion, my very unprofessional opinion.
That a lot of what we're projecting out into the world or behaving a certain way is not our true selves. Identity shifting is really about, like, identity connecting to that core essence that doesn't change. So it's not necessarily about, like, taking on these tactics and these routines and becoming this, like, completely new person. That's a really sexy thing to buy into. And to the degree you buy into it, I find, is where it creates a lot of dissonance, because you're almost rejecting the true self. You're saying, no, shut up, get away. I need to become someone new because you're not worthy enough. You're not good enough. What I'm more of a fan of is identity shifting is more like identity shedding. And it's shedding the beliefs and stories and getting to that true core and trying to bring that version of you out more. And when you're able to do that, now there's no act. Now there's no front. And now you really put yourself out there. And when people like you, they love you, because that's really you and there's no faking it. Guess what? I've found that when people reject that version, it's almost a relief. It's not this deep-seated like pain that we think we're going to feel. We think if someone really rejects the true us, it's going to hurt way more. But it's almost a relief, like, oh, we would never vibe in a million years, and I showed my true colors, and I'm okay with that. So one big mistake when we're talking about creating the 2.0 you and identity shifting and reinventing yourself, replace that with reconnecting to yourself. Now, for the next part of this video, I want to go over some practical steps on how you can start to reinvent yourself by shifting your identity. We got 3 of them. Let's rock and roll. You ever heard of the hero's journey? It's the story of all stories. Like literally when you see it, you cannot unsee it. And it kind of ruins a lot of the major movies you grew up with. I'm talking Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, Star Wars, Lion King even. They all follow the same script. And it's by Joseph Campbell, who studied myths since we developed language as humans sitting around a campfire. We've passed down stories. And he noticed that all the great stories tend to follow a 12-step process boiled down into 3 major things.
Oh, that looks interesting. Let's see. We have here a little hiker guy. Call to adventure. Supernatural aid. Threshold guardians. Threshold. I guess this is the threshold, the beginning of transformation. Oh man, transformation. So important. And then you have here challenges and temptations, mentor, helper, abyss, death, and rebirth. So I guess you're going through transformation and then you poof, you have that transformation. And then it says atonement. And then the gift of the goddess, whatever that is. And then I guess you return to a new challenge. I don't know why it goes all the way back here. Known and unknown, the hero's journey. I guess here you have a revelation. I don't know if you can see my little arrow thing. I guess you can't. Well, that sucks. You can't see my little arrow, my cursor. But anyway, you could see there. Hopefully you can see it. Let's see what he has to say.
Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, where the hero is in his ordinary world. There's a call to adventure to step in and challenge themselves, so they leave the home, step out into the unknown before finally returning home with the prize. And what's interesting about the hero,
I'd like to see that movie again. The Matrix, the trilogy. I think it was a trilogy, right? Yeah. And you know, it's funny. I can never find that. It's always on some platform I don't have.
Journey is that yes, on paper, it looks like an external process. Okay, Neo got the call to adventure. He learns about the Matrix. He goes in, defeats all the agents, and then he comes back to save the world. But the real hero's journey is the internal transformation. Not what they got, but who they became. And so to draw a parallel between that whole...
That's the exciting part about having a podcast, like just starting out. You know, I think like I'll be thinking in my car on the drive or at night when I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking like, I wonder who I'm going to become. Like, I wonder if my ability to talk into the mic is going to get better. Or like with my business, my auto detailing, my new auto detailing business, I wonder if I'm going to be able to make 20 G's in a month. Like, what's it going to be like? What kind of guy do I have to become to make 20 grand in a month or 10 grand in a month? You know, who do I have to become? You don't just fall into that. I know that much. I'm not going to just fall into 10 grand a month. Like, I'm going to have to change into somebody to start making 10, 20 grand a month in my business. And then to start making 100 grand a month, or say 50 grand a month. Like, imagine who I would have to become then, because everything would change. Like to make 10 to 15, $20,000, or like, you know, I think the most would probably be 18,000 with the math I did. That's 2 cars a day for 30 days, right? That's $18,000 at $300 a car. Like the man I would have to become to actually go out and do the marketing and sales and actually get those sales, right? Like you're like, man, the man you became just to be able to pull something like that off, to grow your business like that, where you've you're sold out, you're every single day you're hitting your net. Man, you would have to become to do that, because it doesn't happen by accident. But then take it to another level where you're now scaling your business to make 50 grand a month. Clearly you don't do that by yourself. At that point, you got to have employees, and you got to have a team going on, because how can you grow if your team's not growing? If you're not having employees and growing, I can't wash more cars. I mean, I could charge more, but it's like only so much you could charge somebody to clean their car, detail their stuff. And like the kind of man that you would have to become to be able to exponentially grow your business from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to $50,000 a month. Like that'll change you. You're like somebody different. And I always think about that. I think about, man, what do I got to do? What kind of man do I got to become in order to have a successful auto detailing business? I also have a business doing legal document services, Legal Doc Guy, where I'm going to start doing more commercials pretty soon. And I think to myself, all right, what kind of man do I also have to be to get that business up and running, and then have that business doing $10,000 a month? And then what kind of man would have to become to be operating two businesses simultaneously, to be each one to be generating 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month? Like what kind of man does that? Right? I mean, that's going to be me one day. That's going to be this guy, right? Who's making 100 grand a month because he's got two businesses plus this podcast. If right now this podcast doesn't make anything, I mean, I haven't even got any viewers yet. But let's just say, a year from now, which is my goal, a year from now to get 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully start, what do they call that? Monetize my channel. What kind of podcaster do I have to become to make it to 1,000 subscribers? And then this guy's got like 2 million subscribers, the guy we're watching. Like what kind of man did he have to become to get 2 million subscribers? Like what did he have to go through? The challenges that he must have had and still has to be able to maintain a channel that's got 2 million subscribers. Let's see how many views he has. Let's see. This guy's got, on this one episode, which was made a year ago, he's got 375,000 views. Like, that means that many people watch his content on a regular basis. Maybe even more. I mean, this guy's got 2 million subscribers. That's, I don't know, like 10% of all the people. I don't know what the actual number is for that. It's probably like 15% of all the people who subscribe to his channel actually watch his content. That means that he was able to keep their attention for months on end, growing his channel. Like, what kind of man did he have to become to be that guy? I mean, you got to respect that. And imagine what it does to you up here. And I don't mean like growing a big head, but I mean, imagine what it does to you here with the confidence that you have in the confidence in your competence to be able to grow a channel. Because there's millions of podcasts out there. There's millions of them. To have 2 million subscribers, when I have 2 million subscribers, whenever that day comes, and it will come, because I'm never going to stop again. But like, imagine the kind of person you got to become. When I stopped my podcast, and and I'll just say this because since no one really watches anyway, especially I'm already at 30 minutes. So the chances of someone making it to 30 minutes is pretty slim. But when I started my podcast before, my wife at the time, who's still currently my wife, but we're not living together anymore, she didn't like the podcast. She didn't want me doing a podcast. I don't know what the reason was. I don't know if it was jealousy. It could have been angry because, she felt like my time was, would be better used somewhere else doing something else. I don't know what it was. Jealousy as far as like, she was maybe worried that women would be trying to reach out to me, thinking not like I had any notoriety or anything like that, but who knows what was going on in her head. And I mean, look at me. I'm like crazy handsome. And I started getting exposure and people started like watching my channel and like, hey man, it's pretty good, whatever. And I allowed her to make me stop doing the podcast. And the man who I should have been would have been like, no, like I'm enjoying this and feel like I'm doing really good. I imagine I probably would have had 1,000 subscribers by now if I would have just kept going. But I didn't stay the course. And it's not all her fault. It's my fault too. I didn't put my foot down. I didn't maintain frame. And, it's death by 1,000 concessions, but now that we're not together no more, here I am. Now no one's stopping me from doing this channel. And now I'm on a trajectory to increase my ability, my skills at being a podcaster, which I think is like so fun. If you've never done it, you should try it. I'm not afraid of competition. I mean, there's a million podcasts out there, so who cares? I mean, if you're able to do it, you should do it. Invite me on your show. That'd be great. Anyway, let's keep going.
Storytelling arc in your life right now that sums up exactly what you're doing in the phase you're in right now. You see, there's something in that first phase, the call to adventure. It's where like Neo in the Matrix gets that call from the agents in the Matrix. Now, it's been said that you are the hero of your own movie. And here's the best part. All those stories have one thing in common. There's the hero or the main character that refuses this call to adventure. Like they push it away. They want to step out of their comfort zone, but then something in them kind of pulls them back. And that's the very thing that most people get stuck in, not for a year, not for 5 years, but I'm talking 20 years. I'm talking 30 years. People are in this push-pull. Like, I want to leave my comfort zone and do that thing I really know deep down inside I'm made for. But, let me backtrack because it got hard or I got pushed back.
Oh, man, I've been there. I think everyone's been there. You feel like you're meant for something else. I mean, who hasn't felt that?
From my friends and family, or I'm scared to put myself out there and look stupid or waste energy or money.
Man, that's how I was for like the first 2 years after I bought my podcast machine. I bought it in 2020 during the pandemic. And I just refused, for whatever reason, I just kept refusing to publish anything. I would do podcasts and then I would record them. And I didn't have the cool software I have now. I didn't realize I was using this other one called OBS and it sucked. I hated OBS. I couldn't figure it out. It never worked right. And it was horrible. But I was always so concerned, about publishing this stuff. I was always worried about, I just couldn't, I don't know if I was worried about what people thought, but I must have been because I just couldn't get myself to publish. Publish. Now I make crap videos and I'll publish them. I don't care because I understand that the only way to get better is by continuously coming up with an episode. Doesn't matter what it is. Most of the time I come up with it on the fly. I'm not even really putting, because I got my job, I got my businesses, I got all this stuff going on that I have to better manage my time. And now I got a job at the UFC. So I got 2 jobs, 2 regular jobs, a full-time job and a part-time job. And then I got 2 side hustles, Legal Doc Guy and PJ and Pop's Auto Detailing. And then this podcast. That's 5 things right there alone. excuse me, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff right there. And it's because I'm on this journey to like change things about myself. The lack of discipline, watching, today I'm actually doing really good. I had lunch today. I had 5 tacos from the street tacos, and they were excellent. I didn't have no breakfast, but I had the tacos, and then I haven't eaten since. And normally after the gym, I went to the gym, and normally afterwards I would like stop and get me a soda, or I would stop and get me a bite to eat. But I decided that I don't want to be this guy who doesn't respect his body anymore. I want to now start identifying as a guy who does respect his body and doesn't make excuses about or about what he's putting in his body, or like chasing short-term gratification when I could be having discipline and making decisions that give me long-term gains. If I don't eat tonight, if I go to bed and I just, this is the only thing I bought on my way home. It's just water, sparkling water, which I love. If I ever got sponsored, I'd want it to be by this company right here. This, I don't know, what do you call it? The Mountain Valley sparkling water, or Pellegrino, because I love both of those. But if I can get to bed, I'll be one day under my belt of not eating past 4:00 in the afternoon. I think I ate lunch like around 1. So I have not eaten today since 1 p.m. this afternoon, and right now it's 11:30 in the night. Although I should not have said that, because I put these out in the morning. I publish these, I schedule them for the morning time. So it's really 8 in the morning. Anyway, and by doing that, I'm creating a whole new, identity. I'm now identifying as a guy who respects his body, takes care of himself, doesn't eat a bunch of crap. And then as I keep doing that, I'm going to get leaner. I keep working out. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to look better, feel better, talk better, act better, have more fun with friends and family and girls. And not like I want to get with girls, but just like, I'm trying to be, what do they call that? Abstinence. I'm not banging girls right now, but it's for a reason. One, I'm going through some stuff, I'm going through a divorce, but 2, women will just take time away from what you're trying to accomplish. If you're not accomplished and you're trying to get accomplished, girls got to go. Like, they are a distraction, waste of time. It's not worth it. Unless that girl's going to just show up to your pad, give you a quick BJ and then leave, it's a waste of time. Like, you should not be doing it. A little sexual discipline is not going to hurt anybody. And I could use that because I have not had that in the past. And especially growing up, all the mistakes of, chasing women and stuff. It's just a waste of time. Anyhow, I'm identifying as a guy who doesn't chase women, or I'm identifying as a guy who doesn't eat late at night. I'm identifying as a guy who doesn't eat fast food. I'm identifying as a guy who doesn't drink soda, a guy who doesn't drink coffee, a guy who, makes time for his friends. Like, I think that what this guy's talking about is those type of changes, making sure that you're, if you're having this, he calls it identity shifting, but if you're shifting your identity, you're not just throwing away who you are. You're working on the things that make you not the person who you want to be. And the kind of person, like for myself, just speaking about myself, the kind of guy I want to be is the kind of guy who takes care of himself. He's going to live a long time, where his daughter isn't going to be an orphan because he, had a stroke because he never takes care of himself. And I'm definitely that dude, I eat cookies. I love oatmeal raisin cookies. Ladies, if you want to send me over some oatmeal raisin cookies, but this mind shifting, he calls it identity shifting. So identity shifting, you have this attitude about yourself and this way you see yourself, and you could literally just implement some disciplines and totally change who you are. Changing who you are is, totally possible. We all change every day. We're either changing for the good or changing for the bad. Anyway, I think we get the gist of what this guy's saying. I'm not going to make you go through another 16 or 8 minutes of this because, I always end up talking through most of the whole thing anyway. So anyway, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Make sure you guys like the channel, all that good stuff. You guys know where I'm getting at. It ain't going to hurt you to subscribe. If you made it this far and you watched for 40 minutes, just hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you. Comment. Tell me whatever you want. If you have questions, you can send your clips and articles to the Dre Bee Rambo Show by sending it to my email at drebeerambo@yahoo.com. I got my new automotive business that hasn't necessarily launched yet. PJ and Pops Auto Detailing. My website's almost up. It's almost there. By next Friday, my website will be up. I have a phone call with they call it a I forget what they call it, but it's a phone call where the IT guy helps me put it, finish up everything. And that'll be launching on Friday the 30th. I believe it's a 30th is a Friday. And we also have Legal Doc Guy. If your bitch ain't acting right and you need to kick her to the curb, I could help you divorce her. Or if she's not, or if you got a girl and she ain't letting you see your kids, you can call me or call Legal Doc Guy. And we will prepare the paperwork for you and get them to, file it with the court and get your kids for you, where you can start seeing your kids. I just did a child support modification recently, or Legal Doc Guy did anyway. So I'm just its founder. It's everything right now. So there's that. And I'm going to be coaching pretty soon at the UFC, City of La Mirada. I'll be coaching, I think, a 6 and a 7 o'clock class, or one or the other. They haven't actually told me yet. But if you want to do some jiu-jitsu and you're not already at a gym, especially my coach's gym, Tillis MMA, if you're already there, don't be coming over to me because I'm not poaching my coach's students. But if you're somebody who doesn't do jiu-jitsu and you want to do jiu-jitsu, you can come to the UFC. I'm also going to be doing privates. I work for a personal injury law firm. So as a law clerk, we do personal injury in LA, Azizi Law. So shout out to Azizi Law. If you guys want to, if you get in a car accident or something, or you fall in an elevator shaft or whatever, something like that, personal injury stuff, you could call Legal Doc Guy and we will forward you over to Azizi Law. Because one day I'd like to make Legal Doc Guy like a lead generating thing, right? I got a lot of plans, and that's really important when you have businesses. Although I'm not an expert, I'm always thinking about, okay, I could provide the service, but how do I scale? How to get bigger? I'm not there yet. I'm not a professional on this, but I'm thinking about it, right? This auto detailing business, I'm going to be doing all the work for a while. But once my business is up and running and I have more cars than I can handle, that's when I start scaling, thinking about how I'm gonna do that. How am I gonna get a van where I have 2 vehicles that I can then, have out there doing mobile detailing, getting paid off of both. Got to think about this stuff. You got to think about it. Anyway, I'm tired, so I'm going to bed. But anyway, I love you. I appreciate you. And catch you on the next show. Let's get some outro music. Hopefully it works. All right, guys. Peace. Thank you for watching the show.